Welcome everyone to Reinvention Real Talk, the space where we explore the stories, lessons, and transformations that shape who we become. I'm your host, Karen Larea, and today's conversation is going to be an eye-opener for anyone navigating love, healing, and emotional growth. My guest today is Dr. Chris, known to many as Evolved by Dr. Chris on Instagram, a thought leader, coach, and guide whose work bridges neuroscience, nervous system regulation, and emotional embodiment. It helps people understand how their biology and patterns shape their relationships, self-expression, and leadership. Today, we're driving into something deeply human, the intersection of attachment, love, and evolution, and how understanding our nervous system can transform the way we connect and experience love, especially in our later chapters of life. Dr. Chris, welcome to Reinvention Real Talk. I am so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's exciting to be here.
Yes. There's so much I want to cover with you. But I first want to start, how did you come into this work of nervous system regulation and healing? Was there a personal reinvention moment that led you to where are you today? Or what actually led you up to this point?
Well, gosh, yeah, that's a 46-year question, I guess. I've had to struggle through my own personal growth like many men and women have had to do over the years, professionally and relationally. And, 18 years of clinical practice in family practice, 250,000 patients, so hundreds of thousands of conversations, really getting to know the uniqueness of the human experience, let's say. And then I had a 14-year marriage, and 6 years ago I got divorced, and it was one of those ones that I wish it would have been better. So I had to reinvent myself. Like many people, post-divorce, you have to redefine who are you.
Yes.
Right? Because it's tethered to your work and it's tethered to your relationship. I retired 4 years ago, and I've had to redefine who I am. And I've always had a deep appreciation for relationship and understanding humans. Mm-hmm. So this dove me into really going deep into the coaching realm. So I got a professional coaching certificate. Mm-hmm. And I just really went deep into relational experiences with ourselves, understanding of who we are, and how that translates to relationship experiences and how we interact and develop deep intimacy with other people. And it really is my passion at this next exciting venture in my life.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell. I found you via Instagram. I'm always searching for different guests, and I kind of dive really deep into them before I make that decision. And no joke, by your second post, I was like, oh, I have to have him on. It just resonated so much with me. So
I appreciate that.
Yes.
I really try to speak from the heart and soul because for most things, mm-hmm. I've lived it, except the narcissist real. I was not a narcissist, okay? But I've lived through these things.
Yes.
So yes, I appreciate that.
Yes. Oh, well, you're welcome. Now, you often say the nervous system tells the truth before our mind can. Can you explain what nervous system regulation really means in a relationship context?
This is a huge question. Regulation really means that our body can experience stress or connection without being hijacked by it. Mm-hmm. In relationships, it's the ability to stay present and responsive instead of being overly reactive to situations. It's the nervous system detects safety or threats milliseconds before your conscious thought. So co-regulation, tone of voice, eye contact, they often shape that connection more than the words actually do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you think it's something that we feel immediately, or is it something that's built up? Do you think that's how we connect on a relationship level? Is it something instantaneous?
Well, you can have the predetermined ideas in your mind based on the pre-programming that was coded in your brain from childhood, which is the attachment theory that we talk about. So you may come in with a sense of anxiety or a sense of hesitation, mm-hmm. wanting it to go well, or a sense of hesitation, scared that if it goes well, it may be consuming to you. So there's really two dynamics. When you're in relationship, the nervous system can have over or under sensitivity due to the triggers that are predefined in us. When someone gets close to us and we let our walls down, that's when the real nervous system regulation comes into play. I always joke with people, if you want to have a regulated, calm nervous system, don't get close to anybody, because
Yes.
no one's going to trigger the things that make you feel unsafe.
Now, how much of our relationship patterns are mental versus somatic? Meaning, how often are we reacting from the body rather than from a conscious choice?
You know, this is a really interesting one. So research shows that most emotional responses are body first, right? And you hear this thing, you know, you do what you feel, you know, listen to your feelings. When in reality, that's backwards. So about 80% of our vagal nerve signals come from our body to our brain. So our body is telling our brain how to think, meaning our physiology, our body drives our perception of what's happening in our environment. So we often think we're making a choice, but in reality, these are reactions that are pre-verbal stress responses shaped by early attachment. You're not making the choice. Your body is deciding what you're doing.
And when you say early attachment, you mean from childhood?
Yeah, I'm talking about the ways that your parents raised you, relationships with friends, and even later in life, you know, relationship dynamics, a bad divorce, a partner that had a low emotional maturity, maybe something that was abusive. This all determines our reaction and our responsiveness to what does love look like? What does being accepted look like in life? And that really starts to be coded in the brain by our relationship with our parents young.
Yeah. Now, I believe, and I've always said this to people, and I actually was on a date, and I had said to the person, I said, we were in a deep discussion, and I said, you realize that we're actually dating also, besides who we're dating today as adults, we're actually dating our inner child as well because of all those attachment and those emotional patterns. And his response to me was, well, you're screwed. And I was like, okay, well, all right. You think that it does come from the child, and you just said, yeah, that it does come how our parents love us, what we learn.
Yeah, the inner child conversation is a huge one, very large. And I will oftentimes give people, in a very, funny sense, I'm like, you now have a 5-year-old with you.
Yeah.
And, particularly if someone has some anxiety, for example. And I said, if you had a 5-year-old child and the child was having an anxiety attack, how would you speak to that child? You know? That's how we need to speak to ourselves in relationship, because we are, in effect, the parent of that child that never got what it needed to feel safe when they were young. So that has to come from you internally. So huge conversation, and
And you really do have to work on yourself. It is so hard. And when you said you have to go back, it should be the first person is reparenting yourself almost in that inner child. And like what helps me is I literally visualize, and I've been doing this for a few years, healing that inner child. I visualize myself like at 5 years old. I can clearly visualize myself. And I'm literally bending down, speaking to that child and trying to reparent herself.
Yeah, you're 100% on point, and that's just right. It's asking the child what it needs. You're anxious? Okay, tell me why. Where's that coming from? What do you need? I'm here for you. You're safe with me. And this is detaching your safety, your security, your trust detaching it from external validation, because you are the only one responsible to calm and regulate your nervous system. And that's exactly what you're talking about, parenting your inner child.
So let's talk about attachment styles: avoidant, anxious, disorganized, and secure. How do these patterns show up in modern dating, and what can people start to recognize in themselves?
This is an interesting question. So avoidant individuals, for example, they'll tend to seek independence under stress. Anxious individuals, they're going to crave closeness. They're the ones who overtext and overbear. They tend to cross boundaries and allow their own boundaries to be really, they'll tell you they have boundaries, but they're not enforced.
Yes.
Someone who's disorganized style will oscillate between both anxious and avoidant. The secure types regulate through connection. These are the people who just they go with the flow. They tend to regulate their nervous system quite quickly. And in modern dating, especially online, these patterns amplify because of technology triggers uncertainty and intermittent reward, mimicking early attachment dynamics. When you're online, you're searching for the dopamine hit, which gives you really a sense a false validation, you know?
And now between these attachment styles, you've probably seen shifts. Some might be secure one day, avoidant the next. What really is happening in the nervous system when that occurs?
So that's an interesting question because so your attachment style is your kind of your pre-programming, your operating system. Okay, it's your default when you really let your guard down. But in relationship, if you've had a bad marriage, for example, you're divorced or you had a really bad breakup, it is completely normal that you may be situationally anxious or situationally avoidant. It doesn't mean that you have an avoidant or an anxious attachment. So these show up based on what's happening in your life. But when you get into a more long-term relationship, you're always going to go back to that default setting from childhood, which is why it's so important to be in a healthy relationship so you can pre-program and rewire those old neural pathways so that you get used to working through the stress of uncertainty in relationship and move towards that more secure state. Oftentimes, when you're in relationship, depending on the situation, people can shift between anxious or avoidant. And this can be, for example, if your default setting is anxious when you were young, so in relationship you want the validation, but you've had a really bad breakup and you just want to avoid the closeness again. It's situationally appropriate. So you can kind of go back and forth between the two because of situations that just happen in life. It doesn't mean that that's your attachment style. It just means you're human.
That's something that response is hitting pretty home to me because I go between styles and I'm like, okay, is this because I haven't done my growth strong enough? But I get what you're saying. So
just allowing the human experience. If you want closeness and the person's pulling away, you might be a little more anxious if there's not open communication. And if you've been stung real bad, you're going to be avoidant because you don't want to get hurt again.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about love bombing because love bombing is huge in dating. And now love bombing followed by pulling away is also something that so many people experience. So from a nervous system perspective, what drives the dynamic? Is it fear, dysregulation, or unmet attachment needs?
This is a huge one. Love bombing is like, it is a catchphrase now.
Yeah.
And to be clear, love bombing isn't someone doting on you and someone giving you attention. Love bombing is when they do that, but then later on pull it away with the intent of control or manipulation. If someone is consistently showing up and just really going above and beyond, maybe they're just really into you. Having said that, when it's actual love bombing, the cycle often reflects nervous system dysregulation in that person in combination with emotional immaturity. So the initial high activates dopamine and oxytocin, which is a really potent bonding hormone. Once intimacy kind of gets a little deeper, fear circuits inside of that person or unprocessed attachment wounds trigger an immediate withdrawal, and they're gone. Okay, it's not always about manipulation. It can sometimes be an unconscious attempt to regulate overwhelming emotions. So love bombing, there's really two different types, and I think the part that a lot of people tend to resonate with is the one where the person is emotionally immature and they just went above and beyond. I love you in 2 weeks, and then as soon as they got you hooked, they're out.
And now, when you say love bombing, and then that person is, when you say that the feelings are overwhelming, is it for the person that is doing the love bombing, like let's just say in quotation marks, or is it the person receiving the love bombing?
Well, really both. So the person that is doing the love bombing feels that in order to be loved and accepted, they have to go above and beyond. Okay. Yeah, and this is a deep-rooted insecurity, likely related to relationship experience and or parenting, where you had to be perfect. Your parents didn't accept you for who you were. You weren't allowed to express or develop your individuality. Yes. For the other person, love bombing can be a little much, particularly if you're secure. You're going to identify this as relationally inappropriate for the amount of time that you've been together, and something just doesn't make sense.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Like when you say, like, someone's telling you a week or 2 weeks in, I'm in love with you, and you're like, you don't even know me to be in love with me.
Exactly. Exactly,
Yeah.
and this is a post I made. When is too soon? And honestly, every relationship coach is going to tell you 3 to 4 months is appropriate in a healthy relationship dynamic. Before
Yes.
that, it's purely performative and coming from
Yeah.
a place of an unhealed person.
And now going into where someone is saying to you, and this is kind of a tricky question, but someone is saying, okay, I'm in love with you. Let's say you're 3 or 4 months into that relationship. Should there be intimacy prior to that? Or there should be, you're also waiting into that 3, 4 month period where you can establish if there is love between you, if that's what you're looking for.
Define intimacy.
Being intimate, I mean, giving yourself to that person and that person giving themselves to you intimately, physically.
Right,
Yeah.
physically. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's different levels of intimacy,
Yeah.
and certainly you do not have to have the physical intimacy in order to have the feelings. In fact, I usually recommend you wait 5 to 6 weeks before physical intimacy, because your nervous system and the neural hormones, the neurochemicals that are released, can give you a false sense of connection without
Yes.
actually knowing, is this person aligned with the things that matter, which are values, lifestyle, future goals? Are they aligned on our personality? Are they industrious? Are they volatile? What are the things that actually matter to me for longevity in a committed relationship? Or do we just have chemistry and we're running with it?
You hit the nail on the head perfectly. That explains so much to so many people, and I hope they really listen to that, where you're saying, wait this amount. Because there's a quote I saw once where it says, in the beginning of a relationship or the dating stage, women are thinking clearly and men are not. And then once after the physical part happens, women are not thinking clearly and men are.
Well, and I love this, and this comes down to hormones, quite honestly. So
Yeah.
women have the hardest job, and I push this on my page. It is your job to pick from the few good men. Women's job is to vet the man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because men need a much larger list to be able to create real safety for a woman. So a woman has to look at the things that matter. But if you get intimate too soon, women produce more oxytocin. This bonds you to your partner. It gives you the sense that you are close and connected. So if a woman gets intimate and close too quick, that oxytocin is going to rise too quickly, and it's going to give you a false sense of bonding and a false sense of safety in someone that you don't actually know.
I love that you did explain that very clearly. I'm with you on that page as well about waiting and getting to know the person. If that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for a relationship.
Of course.
Yeah,
There's different
absolutely.
relationship dynamics. If you're looking just to date and have some fun, then do that. I speak to people that are looking for a long-term committed relationship
Yes.
with someone who is highly compatible with you, and someone that's going to really be able to build something with you, not just someone that you get along with and you got great chemistry, because that will inevitably fall apart.
It does. Now, dating after 40 or 50 feels different. Like there's more awareness, but also we have more fear. Like what new emotional or biological challenges do you see emerging in later life dating versus when we were younger?
I see a lot of clients with this type of a situation, widows, widowers, people who have gone through divorce, they've had families, they don't really want to start over again. So biologically, you're looking for different things. You're not looking for a partner to raise a family. You're not looking for a mother to raise your children. So we're looking for things that are really selfish in a good way. But our nervous system still carries decades of patterned stress responses from relationship. Hormone shifts after sensitivity to oxytocin and cortisol, making both bonding and vulnerability feel a little bit riskier because of the history that you've had. But upside is you have an increase in what's the prefrontal awareness, which is the higher thinking, the decision-making area of your brain. So we can consciously rewire a little bit faster with intention when we're dating later in life. This is basically, you're dating with the experiences and you're not jumping into things simply just hormonally. So you're looking for someone who connects with you. You're looking for partnership. You're looking for companionship. You're looking for someone you can be emotionally vulnerable and attuned with. This is very different than looking for somebody that you want to build a family with, have children, be parents. Very different dynamic.
Absolutely. It's completely two different dynamics. and we do look for something different in our second half of our life. And now because of past pain, since we are looking at, my audience is people who are trying to reinvent themselves in the second half of their life, they're more guarded because of that past pain. How can we tell someone to be a little bit more vulnerable, help them soften their walls without losing their self-respect or boundaries?
Yeah, and this really comes down to, and again, the main theme of my work is to start to align and integrate with what your sense of purpose is. So really defining who you are, putting it on paper. What are your values? Who are you? What is your purpose? So it's very normal, that after you've had heartbreak and after you've had all of these things, that you need to kind of have a fresh insight as to what you're going into and what that looks like.
Okay. Yeah. Now can we give maybe some tools or practice or techniques that will help them regulate their nervous system in that moment, especially when they start to feel triggered or they want to put the walls up and not be vulnerable?
Right. So this is the work that I do with clients, and your triggers are always going to exist. What we want to do is make the threshold for what it takes to get you triggered lower, and that means regulating your nervous system quickly. So I usually recommend box breathing. Box breathing is where you picture a square and you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold. Sometimes I'll modify this to an exhale for 8 seconds. These are techniques used by Navy SEALs in battle conditions to literally chill you out when things are stressful. This stimulates your vagus nerve. It ramps up your parasympathetic nervous system, which calms you down. It's really simple. It's evidence-based, and it can work in mid-conversation. And you're not going to do box breathing mid-conversation, but sometimes a deep breath, hand on chest, hold your breath, re-regulate, recenter, and away you go.
And away you go. That is a great practice. Definitely, it does help to breathe where people don't, because you can't. Sometimes for me, helps me being able to meditate and calm myself down so I can calm my nervous system down. But sometimes you can't do that in front of someone, but you can definitely do that little breathing technique without them knowing.
Yeah, and oftentimes it's just mid-conversation. If things are heated, it's a deep breath, hold your breath, hand on chest, recenter, you're ready to go.
Yes. And now, now you work with some high performance individuals, some leaders, entrepreneurs, change makers. Now, how can people who operate in high stress environments bring more regulation and emotional balance into both their relationship and professional lives? Because that is really difficult for high performing individuals.
It is. So part of the work that I do is I dissect your day, and we look and we say, okay, high performers run on sympathetic. They're running on cortisol. Things are moving fast. You got to have quick reactions. So what we do is we introduce micro regulation breaks. Maybe you start your day with 5 minutes of breathing. That's before you even have your coffee. You go for a short walk. It might be a midday walk for 20 minutes. No phone calls. You're connecting to yourself. You're experiencing nature with your five senses. It can also be emotional check-ins during the day. So having little micro tasks that don't take an hour out of your day can really help you recenter. And this teaches your nervous system recovery, not just drive and push. Regulation increases focus, and it's also going to increase your relational capacity for you when you're with your partner.
Now, do you believe that we ever can fully heal from our attachment wounds?
Absolutely. But here's the thing. A lot of people think, and we'll hear this a lot, I need to be on my own so I can heal. The reality is, you don't know if you're healed until someone starts to come close to your triggers, until you start to let them in. Then you let your guard down. That's when the real risk comes into play, and that's when you start to see if the work that you've done has paid off. So learning to regulate your nervous system, learning to parent your inner child, that's only half the battle. The other half is learning to react and learning to respond rather than react in a relationship experience. And yes, with the right partner that's understanding, empathetic, and there for you, doing their own work beside you, you can absolutely heal into a more secure state.
I love that you said that, and in a personal experience for me, there was something that I really needed to heal, and I didn't know exactly what you said. You needed to be in that dating or in a relationship in order to know if it healed. And the person actually triggered something that I was trying to heal from. And if I would not have been healed, I would have gone back into what I was. And when I realized how I handled it, I was actually proud, like, wow, I handled that how I should have handled it as a healed person. So I'm with you where I believe you can heal while being in a relationship or dating.
Absolutely. See, the nervous system doesn't forget, but it can learn new safety pathways. So if you have an experience that will trigger something from your past, but the person you're with gives you a new experience through that feeling, pretty soon your nervous system starts to rewire what that feeling means. And this will then, in the future, give you a new memory that's not traumatic associated with that feeling. That's healing.
Yeah, no, to the point that I was like, okay, this relationship didn't work out, but thank you, because I just learned that I healed. All the work I did, I was able to, I didn't go backwards. I actually moved forward, which was great for me. Yes. Now, what's your advice to someone who fears that vulnerability equals rejection, especially for those learning to love again later in life?
So rejection is an individual experience, right? Fear is ancient. It is a survival mechanism. It's autonomic. You don't control that fear. It's to protect yourself from harm. The antidote isn't forcing openness, but creating the antidote isn't forcing openness, but creating micro moments of safe vulnerability. When we repair exposure with regulation, the brain relearns that connection no longer equals danger. So the micro moments that put you into situations where you can actually be safe will eventually repair and get that fear response lowered down.
Yeah. These have all been amazing answers. We've gone so deep into some of these things, but I do want to make it a little light for you. So let's have a little bit of fun here because it's been so deep and heavy. But let's see. What's a mantra that you personally use when you feel triggered?
Honestly, I just deep breathe and I say, it's not about me.
Yeah, yes.
That's my mantra. I try to make it not personal. You know you're truly healed when your nervous system does not respond and react to the emotional state of those around you.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that is wonderful. And now, a book you recommend for anyone wanting to understand attachment or regulation?
Honestly, like Attached by Levine and Heller.
Okay.
Great one.
Attached by Levine and Heller. Perfect. And one myth about love you wish everyone would stop believing, repeating.
Love is not a feeling. It is about compatibility and a shared vision with someone who aligns with everything that you want to build that future that you envision.
Yeah, so it's a choice.
Love is a choice. It is a choice to find a builder that is as good as you to build the same or similar thing that you want to build for that future, whatever it is.
That is a wonderful response. The listeners can't see, but right now I have a huge smile on my face because it is. It is a choice. Love is a choice.
The beautiful thing is you get to decide. And so many people, when you have the emotional overdrive because of crazy chemistry early on, you are divorcing your choice. You are giving that up to your hormones and your nervous system without consciously vetting the person and saying, man, do I love this man because he is regulated, he is consistent, he is calm, he is patient, he listens, he's emotionally intelligent. The real questions to ask.
Yes. Amen. Yes.
Yeah.
And now before we close, where can our listeners find you, connect with your work, and learn more about everything amazing that you have to offer, Dr. Chris?
Well, currently, Evolved by Dr. Chris on TikTok and on Instagram. We have our booking links on there. We are creating courses that are rolling out for how to love my avoidant partner, how to live with anxiety. We're creating support groups on school. So Instagram, Evolved by Dr. Chris. I do take clients on one-on-one, and we are expanding the programs every week.
Wonderful. And then finally, I ask this question of every guest. It's my last question here on the show. In one word, what does reinvention mean to you?
Alignment.
Alignment, yes. I love that answer.
Yeah.
That is a great one-word reinvention, alignment.
You
All right, thank you.
align with who you are and what matters to you. You become selfish and you live in alignment with your authentic person.
Yes. Thank you again, Dr. Chris, for sharing your wisdom, your heart with us today. It really has been a meaningful and powerful conversation. You have given us science, soul, and the truth, and I know so many listeners will walk away understanding themselves and maybe their little issues in their relationships on a whole new level and a little bit more better about themselves. To everyone listening, remember, reinvention begins the moment you choose to show up differently. Until next time, I am your host, Karen Larea. This has been Reinvention Real Talk, and thank you again, Dr. Chris.
Thank you, Karen. Wonderful. Thank you.